Today I made $3,159 day trading SPY, and yesterday I made $15,000 swing trading SPY. But let me show you today's trade that I took and break it down step by step. So if we go to the charts over here on the 5-minute chart for SPY, if you follow my strategy at all, I basically use supply and demand zones for day trading. So essentially on the 5-minute chart when we're trading SPY, you can see we had when it started out at supply zone at 593.93. You draw it all the way over, and the concept is for things to come down, tap it, and then reverse back down, and we can take an option put, which is allows you to make money to the downside. So if we switch on over to the 1-minute chart where the entries and exits happen, you'll see this is where that zone was. It came over, and if I zoom in for you, you'll see that it came up, tapped this area for a zone candle, reversal candle, no confirmation candle below it, so that's fine. Went above it, broke above the zone, and then we basically had our reversal candle again, finally kind of breaking below it, that's fine. Confirmation candle that's below the major supply zone, and then boom, an entry forming right here. So I entered in this specific spot. But you'll see I didn't exit here, I didn't exit here, didn't exit here, I didn't exit here. I exited all the way over here. But you may be asking, well, first of all, why the heck didn't you exit here? Because I mean, it came all the way back against you. Second of all, why the heck did you enter on this trade? Because it doesn't look like a very pretty looking trade. It looks like it wanted to come down, it broke above it, and it wasn't really that nice looking. I usually like to do like the clean ones, you know. And then part three, why don't you just find a different trade? There were a bunch of other trades, realistically. Like there was this guy over here. If I draw this rather quickly, right? This is the low of the day, early in the morning anyway. What is this from 95 to 5 here? If we go on over to the 1-minute chart, you can see zone started here, came up, tap, bounce, tap, bounce, tap, bounce, tap, bounce, tap, bounce, tap again, bounce. There's way more easier trades in the first place. But why did I take this one? I'll show you why this is the better trade, even more so than this guy. So we got to go from bigger picture back to small picture, and it all makes sense. So if we go to the weekly chart here, this is the same ticker being SPY, but this is the weekly chart. Everything has been going on an uptrend for the full past year. Every candle here represents 1 week. But if we zoom in over here, the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks has been on a downward trend, which means if you do more puts at the moment than calls, you'll make more money because it's in a downward trend. So from this perspective for the weekly, if you just look at, hey, what's the trend? That will allow you to know what trades to look for so you'll have a higher probability of winning. It's no longer hypothetically 50-50. It's more of like a 75-25, right? It's like as an example, when the whole market was going up, wouldn't it make sense if you only took calls? You'd win 75+% of the time. Or if we just make it even worst case scenario, 51+% of the time versus the 49 because it's going up. Right? There's too many people that try to just go against the trend and buy both calls and puts. Find the one of the trend and go from there. But this is the weekly, just from that logic, right? Now let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go to the daily chart. This is the daily chart here, and I'll zoom in a little bit more. For one, before I switch to zones, you'll see that it is coming down, tapping the area bounce, tapping the area bounce. It's tapping off this bottom piece here, but you'll notice it's giving no zones here, but it's kind of going low from this high piece here, the high up here, to a lower piece, to a lower one, to a lower one. So if we switch to the daily chart zones, you'll notice exactly what's happening. We have a high here, the low as mentioned, and we have this zone exactly formed on this candle. And then it came down, tapped into this area yesterday, and then boom, it looks like it's bouncing down as a result. The same thing essentially happened on the candle before. So if we check this out, I'll just draw only the rectangle piece here so you don't think it's just random stuff being made up. You see the green one, right? It's covering the full daily candle here. It came down, tapped in the area, and it fell down. So it's the same logic. Okay, if it covers the full candle here on this side over here, comes down, goes back up, maybe more than likely it looks like it's hitting it and it's gonna fall down. Just that simple from a logic perspective, but that's the daily chart from a zone perspective. Okay, well, wait a second. Let's look at the hourly chart. What does the hourly chart show? And let's go hourly here. You can see with the hourly chart, even though I didn't move my lines a little bit, you can see we had the high here, and it basically went up, tapped this area, went up, broke through, still rejected massively, went over here again, broke through, It's coming back to the spot. And the concept is that if it's done it 3 other times and we're also on a downward trend, then this is going to fall, basically, regardless. So same thing here. The line started from the trend line perspective, then this mass consolidation of candles over here, pull it over, it's tapped in this area, this is as low as it can go, tapped in this area as low as it can go, excuse me. And this was my call where I made the $15,000 yesterday where it bounced upward, right? So if everything stays exactly the same, this should potentially fall. And so if we pull everything together and put the master chart up, this is what it looks like on the hourly. The yellow zones here are the daily zones that we looked at. The green and the red one here are the weekly zones. The white trend lines are the trend lines from the hourly chart. It's going in a downward trend. So when we go back to the 5-minute chart over here, I'll zoom the 1 minute, let's go to 5 minute, the 5-minute chart here, and let's switch this to the master chart, which shows everything. You'll notice, this is where that zone was. It went into it and it started falling down, went slightly more into it and it started falling down. Realistically, you didn't even need all the day trading pieces that I mentioned before. You could technically just have had the little yellow zone, waited for it to fall below it, and you would have made money on the put. That was basically it. And if you're wondering, okay, if you did that, why did you sell down here? Well, if the trend is on a downward trend, I was making the assumption anyway, that it's going to go lower than the body of these candles here, right? Based off of the yellow trend, the white trend line going down, we're being on a downward trend, so I was fine to hold on. But it was getting towards the end of kind of closing towards the market for the next hour, so I sold once this candle formed over here, somewhere in this area anyway, at about 12:50, 1 o'clock or so, give or take my time CST, and I made the money for the 3K. But the reason why I didn't, even though from a formulaic perspective, you would think I would be still in the trade and potentially holding longer term, is because everything lines up for it to be a continued downtrend, similar to this week here and similar to this week here, and realistically all of it. But the reason I'm not still in the trade is because today is Thursday, January 16th. Trump goes into office Monday, being I think the 19th. And when he did go into office, if we switch to, is it the daily where I can see something? Yeah. When he got elected as the next president of the United States, unless my math is wrong, if I remember correctly, or not math, but you know what I mean, I believe it was this. Yeah. This was the day before he got elected. This was overnight, and then the next day was up here. I'm not going to get trapped in a potential saying, hey, it's in a downward trend and something like that happens. Because if we do check this out from an interesting perspective, let's just zoom into this. Or let me pull out a little bit and do it like that. Where are we? Yeah. So this is the spot, right? So we were in an uptrend, and then in this little specific spot, we were actually forming a downtrend. So all logic and all strategies say take puts before the president goes in, before the president gets elected, essentially. But he got elected, market shot up. So if this is in a downward trend, after it was in an uptrend, and this is in an uptrend, and then it went into a downtrend, I'm not saying that more than likely it potentially will shoot up, but if history repeats itself, potentially it could. But I'm not trying to make that call. I'm trying to get out with the profit I have at the moment, call it a day, and I'm not trading, well, today's over, but I'm not trading tomorrow being Friday as a result. And Monday morning, I'm not trading potentially, maybe morning, Monday afternoon after the dust is quote unquote settled. So if there is a gap up, cool, I'll trade it. If there is a gap down or it doesn't do anything, cool, then I'll trade it. But from today, tomorrow, I'm not doing another trade. I'm fine with my 15K yesterday and the 3K today. That's more than enough. And I guarantee if you made the same money, you'd say the same thing. You might even take off the rest of the entire month as a whole.